My pregnant wife's mother cornered me at the baby shower. My daughter made a huge mistake marrying someone who can't even afford a real house. Thank God her ex is still in the picture for emotional support, she said. My wife giggled and rubbed her belly. I felt my face burning with anger but simply nodded and continued setting up chairs. 3 days later, my phone blew up with 30 missed calls. I 33M never thought I'd be posting here. Not going to lie, my hands are literally shaking as I type this out. Been lurking for years, but now I need to get this off my chest because I'm about to lose my freaking mind. Some background. I met my wife, Sarah, 30F, about 4 years ago through mutual friends. We hit it off, got married 2 years later, and now she's 7 months pregnant with our first kid, a baby girl. I was over the moon when we found out, until this weekend happened. We bought a smaller house in an older neighborhood last year. It needs work-dated kitchen, some plumbing issues. The backyard is basically dirt right now, but it's ours. No help from anyone. I've been fixing it up room by room on weekends. Sarah seemed happy with it, or so I thought. Her mom, Margaret, has always been difficult. From day one, she's made these little comments. Oh, you work with computers, or this neighborhood is interesting. Always with that pause, that look. But I kept my mouth shut because Sarah would just say, that's just how mom is, and change the subject. So this weekend was Sarah's baby shower. We decided to host it at our place, even though Margaret suggested maybe we should rent a venue, with that tone she uses. I spent all week prepping, repainted the living room, fixed the wobbly porch step, even installed new light fixtures in the dining room. Everything had to be perfect. The day arrives. I'm setting up the folding chairs we borrowed from Sarah's cousin while the early guests are arriving. I'm already sweating through my shirt because the AC in our house is temperamental at best. Margaret shows up an hour early with her friend from church, walking around, inspecting everything with this pinched look on her face. I'm arranging the last row of chairs when Margaret corners me, literally backs me against the wall with her church friend watching. And what happens next? I can still hear her voice in my head. Michael, she says, all sugary sweet, but loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. My daughter made a huge mistake, marrying someone who can't even afford a real house. Look at this place. The roof probably leaks, the floors creak, and that bathroom, my God. My jaw tightens. I say nothing. Thank God her ex is still in the picture for emotional support. Did you know Daniel just bought the most beautiful new construction in Lakewood Hills? 5 bedrooms, a home theater. Now that's a place to raise my grandbaby. I glance over at Sarah. She's across the room with her sister Emily and 2 friends. And what does my wife do? She giggles, rubs her belly, and giggles. My face is burning. My fists are clenched so tight my nails are digging into my palms. But there are 20 women in my house. It's my wife's baby shower, so I just nod and say, "Excuse me, I need to get more chairs," and walk away like the pathetic doormat I apparently am. The whole shower, Margaret is dropping these comments, telling stories about Daniel and Sarah's romantic trip to Cabo from back in college, asking Sarah if she's really sure about the baby's nursery being in such a small room. I stay in the kitchen most of the time, bringing out food, refilling punch. No one even acknowledges me except Emily, who gives me this look like she feels sorry for me. After everyone finally leaves, I start cleaning up while Sarah opens gifts on the couch. I asked her if she heard what her mom said to me. She sighs, rolls her eyes. Mom's just concerned about us. Michael, this house is kind of a mess, and your job isn't exactly stable. I've never told Sarah's family much about my finances. I make decent money, but I'm careful with it, always have been. And yeah, I was laid off last year, but found a new gig within weeks. Her comment hits me like a slap. And what was that about you giggling when she was trashing our home? Our home, Sarah, that we picked together? She gets all defensive. You're being dramatic. I was just laughing at something Emily said. Not everything is about you. but I saw her face. I know what I saw. We go to bed angry. Next morning, things are tense. Sarah's phone keeps buzzing with texts. She keeps angling it away from me when I walk by. Red flag number 1. I'm in the garage looking for some paint when her phone rings on the kitchen counter. The name on the screen, Daniel? Red flag number 2. Later that day, I overhear Sarah on the phone in our bedroom. I know, Mom. Yes, he's being difficult again. No, I haven't told him yet. I know the timing isn't ideal. Haven't told me what? That night, Sarah says she's going to her mom's to help sort baby clothes her cousin dropped off. She doesn't come home until after midnight. Red flag number 3. The next morning, while Sarah's in the shower, I do something I'm not proud of. I check her phone. There are dozens of texts between her and her mom about Daniel, about my financial situation, about how the baby deserves better circumstances. And then I see it, a text from Margaret to Sarah. Daniel said the offer still stands. You wouldn't have to worry about money ever again. Think about the baby. Sarah's response, I know, Mom. I'm thinking about it. I confront her. We have the biggest fight of our marriage. She storms out, says she's going to her parents until I calm down and stop being paranoid. That was 3 days ago. This morning, I woke up to my phone blowing up 30+ missed calls, 18 from Sarah, 12 from Margaret, voice messages, texts. I haven't listened to any of them yet because last night, Emily showed up at my door crying. What she told me about what Margaret and Sarah have been planning behind my back for months. I don't even know who my wife is anymore. I need advice, Reddit. Am I overreacting? Should I listen to the voicemails? Or should I just proceed with what I'm planning to do now that I know the truth? Update. First of all, holy, I never expected my post to blow up like that. Thanks for all the awards and DMs. Sorry I haven't responded to comments. Things have been insane these past few days. So those 30 missed calls, I finally listened to the voicemails. The first few were from Sarah, all tearful, saying she needed to talk, that I was misunderstanding everything. Blah, blah, blah. Then Margaret's messages started, each one more panicked than the last. The final one just said, you need to answer your damn phone now before you ruin everything. Ruin everything? Me? I didn't call either of them back. Instead, I texted Sarah a single message. I know what you and your mom have been planning. I need time to process this. Don't come home yet. What did Emily tell me that night? Buckle up, because it's so much worse than I thought. Apparently, Margaret has been orchestrating this whole thing from the beginning. For the past 4 months, she's been meeting with Daniel weekly to plan how to get Sarah to leave me. She told everyone in their family that I'm basically a deadbeat who can't support Sarah and the baby. She's been telling people at their church that she's concerned about the baby's paternity. Yeah, that bad. But here's the real kicker. Daniel isn't just the ex-boyfriend, he's Margaret's godson. His parents and Margaret have been friends for 30 years. They've always wanted their kids to end up together. When Sarah chose me instead, Margaret never accepted it. Emily showed me screenshots of a group chat between Margaret, Daniel, and Sarah. They've been house hunting together, house hunting for a place for Sarah and the baby without me. Margaret's been making large deposits into Sarah's personal account. Money I now know came from Daniel. My stomach literally turned when I saw messages about how they would handle Michael once the baby arrived. Margaret suggested Sarah file for emergency custody the day she gives birth, claiming I'm unstable. They were planning to lock me out of my own life, and Sarah, my wife, the woman carrying my child, she went along with all of it. After Emily left, I sat on our couch until sunrise, just staring at the wall. The hurt was so deep I couldn't even cry. Our wedding photos stared back at me from the shelf I built last summer. The ultrasound picture on the fridge, the half-painted nursery down the hall. The next morning, I called my buddy, James. He's the most level-headed guy I know. Told him everything. He came over immediately with coffee and donuts. sat me down and said something that changed everything. Stop reacting and start documenting. For the past 3 days, that's exactly what I've been doing. First, I went through our finances with a fine-tooth comb. Turns out Sarah's been siphoning money from our joint account into her personal one for months, small amounts, $100 sheer, $50 steer, but it adds up to over $3,000. I found emails between Sarah and a realtor about houses in Lakewood Hills, the same neighborhood Margaret mentioned at the shower. In one email, Sarah specifically asks about school districts, saying, "I need to make sure my daughter has the best possible start, unlike what my husband had." That one hit hard. I grew up in a trailer park, worked my ass off to get where I am. Sarah knew this. She knew how proud I was to buy our house. Yesterday, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was Daniel, man to man. "You should know Sarah's been unhappy for a long time. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." I didn't respond, but I saved the text, added it to my growing collection of evidence. Then this morning, the weirdest thing happened. Our elderly neighbor, Miss S. Lee, knocked on my door. She handed me a casserole dish and said, "For you. Margaret told everyone at Bridge Club your wife left because you were abusive." I don't believe it. My late husband had the same eyes as you kind eyes. Abusive? They're spreading rumors about me being abusive? That was the moment something inside me just snapped. The sadness crystallized into something harder, colder. I called Emily immediately. She confirmed it. Margaret's been telling everyone who listened that Sarah left because she feared for her safety, that she's worried about the baby. Emily's been trying to counter these rumors, but Margaret has way more social capital in their circle. I went into our spare room, cleared off the desk, and set up my old laptop. Created a new email account, started a document titled Everything. For the next 6 hours, I compiled screenshots, bank statements, texts, emails, everything I could find showing what they've been doing. While digging through old emails, I found something interesting. Margaret's church does this big charity fundraiser every year. She's been in charge of it for the past decade. There were emails forwarded to Sarah showing discrepancies in the accounting, significant ones. Margaret's been skimming from the donation pool for years. I also discovered Margaret's been pressuring Sarah's father, Robert, to remortgage their paid-off house to help Daniel with his latest business venture. Robert's been resistant, literally the only backbone that man has ever shown, and Margaret's been threatening to tell people about his affair. From 10 years ago, an affair Emily confirmed never actually happened. What kind of person does this? Blackmails their own husband, tries to steal their daughter's baby? And then it hit me. Margaret doesn't just want to control Sarah, she wants my baby. Our daughter, Dororo. My daughter, Sophia, was born 8 weeks ago. She's perfect 10 fingers, 10 toes, and thankfully, a DNA test confirmed what I already knew in my heart. She's mine. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The morning after my last post, I woke up to a weird Facebook notification. Someone had tagged me in a post I couldn't see. Turned out Margaret had blocked me, but was posting about me, calling me unstable, saying she feared for her daughter and grandbaby's safety. The post had dozens of sympathetic comments from her church friends. The character assassination had begun. That same day, Sarah came by with Emily to get more clothes. The moment she walked in, I noticed something off. She was wearing a necklace I'd never seen before, a small diamond pendant that definitely wasn't in our budget. Later, Emily confirmed Daniel had given it to her the day before. Cool, cool, cool. While Sarah gathered her things, avoiding eye contact the whole time, Emily slipped me a USB drive. On it, recordings of Margaret's conversations with Daniel and Sarah from the past 3 weeks. Emily had been using the voice memos app on her phone anytime they were together, hiding it in her purse. That night, after they left, I listened to those recordings. My hands shook so hard I spilled coffee all over my keyboard. Margaret talking to Daniel. "Once the baby comes, we'll file for emergency custody. I have a friend at CPS who can help expedite things. Michael won't know what hit him." Daniel laughing. The loser probably can't even afford a decent lawyer. But the worst was Sarah's voice. I just need to stick it out for a few more weeks. Mom's right. Once the baby is here, it'll be easier to make the break. I just hope he doesn't contest anything. I sat there in the dark, listening to these people, including my wife, planning to erase me from my child's life. Something cold and hard settled in my chest. The next morning, I drove to the lab for the paternity test Sarah had finally agreed to. In the waiting room, an older guy nodded at my Metallica t-shirt and said his son had seen them live last year. We got talking. Turns out he was on the board at First Community Church, Margaret's church, the one hosting the upcoming charity gala. Coincidence? Maybe. Opportunity? Definitely. I mentioned I'd heard their annual fundraiser was coming up. He lit up, talking about how Margaret had single-handedly saved their building fund, how they were planning to name the new addition after her, how she'd been handling all the money for years because no one else wanted the responsibility. I nodded and smiled and filed everything away. Over the next few weeks, things moved quickly. The paternity test came back positive. Sarah moved permanently to her parents. I spoke to 3 different lawyers. Emily kept feeding me information. James helped me organize everything. I learned Margaret had been systematically stealing from the church charity fund for over 5 years, small amounts at first, then larger sums as she got bolder. The money went to Daniel's failed business ventures, designer clothes, and, ironically, the down payment on a house in Lakewood Hills. She'd already put an offer on for Sarah and the baby. Meanwhile, she was still telling everyone I was abusive, unstable, possibly not the father. The rumors spread through their social circle like wildfire. I lost friends, got dirty looks at the grocery store. Someone even keyed my car with the word abuser. Through it all, I said nothing, just gathered evidence, made connections, waited. The night of the gala arrived. Emily texted me that Margaret was wearing a new dress she'd bought with church money. Robert looked miserable. Daniel was there as Sarah's support. The church was packed with Margaret's social circle, the mayor, local business owners, other church leaders. I waited until dinner was served before walking in. The look on Margaret's face when she saw me worth every second of the past months. Her perfect makeup couldn't hide how quickly the blood drained from her face. I walked straight to the pastor, handed him a sealed envelope, and simply said, "You should see this before you name anything after her." Inside, bank statements showing Margaret's systematic theft from the church fund, records of personal purchases made with charity money, screenshots of her threatening Robert with the fake affair, the full audio recordings of her planning to take my child. I didn't stick around for the fallout, didn't need to. As I walked to my car, I could hear raised voices from inside. Margaret's was the loudest, high-pitched with panic. The next morning, the texts started. From Sarah, "What did you do?" From Emily, "Holy, it's happening." From numbers I didn't recognize, church members asking for more details. By afternoon, Margaret's Facebook page was gone. The church had called an emergency board meeting. Sarah wasn't answering calls from anyone, even Daniel. 2 days later, Emily called me in tears. The church had found even more discrepancies than I'd uncovered, over $70,000 missing. Margaret was being asked to pay it all back. She'd been removed from all committees. The police were considering charges, but the social fallout was even worse. Friends of 30 years wouldn't speak to her. Her bridge club kicked her out. The country club lost her membership application. Robert finally grew a spine and moved out, staying with his brother. And Daniel? The moment things got rough, he ghosted, blocked Sarah and Margaret on everything. Turned out he'd been lying about his finances too. His business was failing, and he'd been counting on Margaret's investment to save it. A week later, Sarah showed up at my door, 8 months pregnant, mascara streaked down her face. She begged to come home, said she'd made a terrible mistake listening to her mother, that she still loved me, that she wanted our family back. I looked at this woman, this stranger wearing my wife's face, and felt nothing, no anger, no love, just emptiness. I told her she could come back for the baby's sake, but our marriage was over. She could stay in the guest room until after the birth. After that, we'd figure out co-parenting. The next 6 weeks were awkward AF. We lived like polite roommates. I installed a lock on my bedroom door, set up cameras around the house with her knowledge. Sarah spent most days crying or staring blankly at the TV. I focused on finishing the nursery. Sophia came 3 weeks early. I was there for the birth, cut the cord. The moment they placed her in my arms, that hard knot in my chest finally loosened. I cried for the first time in months. Paternity tests confirmed what I already knew when I saw her. She has my eyes, my nose. She's mine. We've settled into an uneasy co-parenting routine. Sarah moved into a small apartment nearby. We exchange Sophia every 3 days. It's not ideal, but it works. The divorce will be final next month. As for Margaret, she and Robert are officially separated. She had to sell her house to repay the church and cover legal fees. She's renting a 1-bedroom apartment on the other side of town. Her social standing is destroyed. Her friends are gone. The charity named their new building after someone else. She's texted me 27 times asking to see Sophia, calls me at least once a week, left tear-filled voicemails about how she just wants to meet her granddaughter, how she's learned her lesson, how she's a changed woman. The irony isn't lost on me. The woman who thought I couldn't provide, who tried to erase me from my daughter's life, is now begging for scraps of attention. Last week, I ran into Miss S. Lee while walking Sophia in her stroller. She smiled and said, "Your baby has your eyes, kind eyes." Then she handed me another casserole dish and added, "Margaret came by asking about you too." I told her to leave good people alone. I haven't decided if Margaret will ever be allowed to see Sophia. That's a bridge I'll cross when my daughter is older. For now, I'm focusing on being the best dad I can be. Our house isn't fancy. The kitchen still needs updating. The backyard is still mostly dirt, though I've started putting in a small garden. But it's ours, mine, and Sophia's. No one can take that away. And every night, when I rock my daughter to sleep in the nursery I finished painting myself, I know one thing for certain: this is what a real home looks like.